Hey,
Good morning.
happy Groundhog Day.
Thanks. Is today Groundhog Day? I figure every day since COVID is Groundhog Day.
Yeah, exactly. But today is officially Groundhog Day.
Okay.
So I
You say
know
so.
in the east coast of Canada, Shubenacadie Sam did see his shadow, which
Okay.
means a longer winter. So we're hoping. There's three that I monitor, and I always
Okay.
take the best two out of three.
Okay. Well, just feels like whatever every day. Although there is light up here in Canada. Oh, Canada and Ontario, we are slowly getting rid of all the lockdowns. So
Restrictions, yeah.
a little bit open the other day. We're going to have more opening next month. And apparently by March, everything's open. So for me, that means concert season. So I'm excited.
Yes, we. I've been monitoring, and yes, there's lots of concerts coming. There's lots of activities coming. There's lots more coming. So yes, for people who have not seen the Groundhog Day movie, highly recommended. But yes, January felt like Groundhog Day. Like every day, I can't leave my house. Every day, I'm doing the same thing. I kind of do my routine. So
Yeah.
it was nice. It's nice to mix it up. That's why I like going up north.
Yeah. So, well, yeah. So I came up and because I was down, I brought my kid back down to the city. So, because his important stuff, hockey and work, is starting back up. School's
That's the
virtual.
disadvantage with everything open is that our kids also become busier, which means our
Yeah.
lives become busier.
Yeah. So I stocked him up, got him all organized, and came up here. And then now I'm waiting for. So, in case you guys hear the plumbers come walking in, they have to replace our whole pump UV filter system. I don't know what the heck that is, but anyways, they're replacing it. So in case it
Excellent.
gets loud, or you never know, it's snowing. We're supposed to have 4 or 5 days of snow. So unfortunately for me, it is Groundhog Day for another 4 or 5 days.
Exactly. But last week, so last Wednesday when we were on here, we were going to be doing a branding photo shoot the following
Yeah,
day.
right.
So we did that. I drove up north.
We did for the
I
day.
grabbed a whole bunch of clothes and makeup and stuff and drove north.
Yes.
So different though, because you didn't think it went great. You weren't in mode. So
I wasn't in the mode. Yeah. So it's funny because the last time we did a fairly big photo shoot when it was just Spencer and I, and we went to this really nice place, and we had to park very far. We had to lug all her equipment, and it was raining. So
Oh, that's
not.
right.
So I was miserable all day. I didn't want to do it, and all of the pictures turned out great. So so I woke up and I didn't. So here was the thing: we didn't do it like we did it at our studio, but I didn't have all my. I thought I had my stuff there, but I didn't.
Right.
And so I didn't have anything that I normally get ready with: my makeup, my brushes, all that stuff. I didn't. I thought I had, and clothes, because I thought I had stuff and I couldn't find everything because it was still in boxes. So I was a grumpy, right? I was grumpy cat.
I wouldn't say grumpy, just
Yeah.
not.
And you were
Not
all like, oh, I feel fabulous.
I was totally in. But
Right.
I also had time to prepare. I was here. I grabbed everything I needed. I had 2 hours to drive to get there. So I
Yeah.
had, I was like rocking in the car and doing all
Yeah.
of that stuff. So,
And there's a couple of things that I think I would have done differently. Number one is obvious. Well, it's hard for me to not be rushed, right? Because I have so many responsibilities in the morning that in order just to get out of the house, I've already worked for 4 hours.
right.
So to get out of the house is already exhausting. So if I could do it over again, I would figure out, and I don't know how, but I would figure out a way to not have those responsibilities in the morning, maybe get there
Right.
earlier. But then the other thing is, I'm going to give a big shout out to our photographer because she told us to put music on and we didn't. And then at the end of the day, when we had music on, I was like, oh shit, we should have put music on.
Well, we did have an internet issue that day as well. So that was the other
Yeah.
piece that was a little bit of a hiccup because you were also waiting for a phone call from
Yeah.
service providers and stuff like that and trying to figure that out. So that was also added to the stress.
Yeah. And
But
I
it's
just didn't feel like, sometimes you wake up and you feel like you're rocking. Like you had a good day. I could tell you were in the
yeah.
mood. You felt
I was like, I
great.
thought I had a good hair day. I
Yeah.
was good. But again, I had that time to
Yeah.
let everything go at home and have 2 hours of peace on the way up. So
Yeah. And I just felt like it's one of those days, and we all have them, when you wake up and you're like, I don't feel good today, right? I don't feel good. I don't feel like I look good. So we'll see what the magic of Spencer photography does.
Well, sometimes that's a good thing. So
Yeah.
some of the things. So would you, like, you woke up, you weren't feeling great. So would you have canceled it?
Yeah, I absolutely would.
Had it been
If you weren't coming here, the beauty of up here is that, we didn't rent anywhere or anything. It's our studio. Right. So, if you weren't driving all the way up, I would have, because I really didn't feel good. And so the day before, on top of that, the day before I was in the city, right? And so I drove all the way to I drove 2 hours down to the city, did all my stuff, including get my hair done. And then I drove all the way back up. So when I come back up, remember, I have to prepare the 4 hours before I leave the house. So I prepared, I drove down the city, I did all my stuff, I drove back, and then I had to, do more work because the responsibilities are here. And so it was too much. And when we say, you have to really take it a little slower and slow down, and it's true. So would I have canceled? Yeah.
Yeah. So going into, because these are because that's a lesson, right? Like it's a lesson for me. Because what do we say? Like if you're not feeling it, like don't do a video or don't go live or whatever, because that can really impact. So it's going to be interesting. So we haven't seen the pictures yet, but sometimes, like before, again, lugging stuff in, it was raining, but the pictures trying to go. So it's going to be interesting to see what the photos show. And that, I think what's really interesting is that we don't see. So when you're sitting there and you're like, I think this would look good. So, you put on a jacket, you put on a shirt or whatever. And this is for all the branding shoots we've done. We've done them for years with Spencer. So Spencer's our photographer. Spencer's our everything. She's just everything. So videographer, social media person, everything. So, but it's interesting because she sees it through the camera lens. Right. So she knows like what she's zoomed in on. She knows what the lighting is like. She can see the finished product. Right. We are sort of doing what she's asking us to do. And then like we're sitting there because she's taking photos of us like looking at a phone or, just some staged stuff, looking at an iPad, looking at a computer. So we're actually looking at things. But it's funny because again, she's looking at the photos and she's getting like in between shots and stuff like that. And some of them are really good. And she's like, yeah, they're really good. So it's going to be interesting to see how that comes through on the picture. So
it's you know what I was thinking about as we were doing it, like back when I was like teenager, I did modeling, but it was only runway modeling. And I was thinking about the models that are, on photographs, right? Yeah. And it doesn't matter if they're having a bad day or not. They have to show up and take the shots. It's like if you're being an actress or, I will say, so when I'm on stage, when I'm speaking, regardless of whether I have a good day or not, I still go out and do it. Right. But I can feel the difference. Right. I can feel, even though, so the photos might be great. Right. But I know I didn't feel good that day. And that's kind of interesting. So it's again a lesson, and we defer to our photographer. So if she thinks they were good enough, then they're good enough, right?
Well, so it doesn't matter how you feel. Yeah, absolutely. But you're also more critical of your own photos, and that's why you need like the photos that she chooses
are not always ones we like.
Never. Like I go through and I'm like, I remember a couple of photo shoots I've done, and I'm like, I like this one and I like this one. And she's like, yeah, I like that one and I like that one.
Yeah.
It's a different look.
Yeah.
She sees it differently. She sees it as what
Well,
somebody else
remember,
would look at it.
I will say, so because here's the thing, we are probably the easiest people she has to work with, right? We never ever say don't do this. Like, we just say okay, whatever she wants, we go okay, right? And we just defer to her. So
Right.
what's funny is last week she was doing a landing page for us, because she's a graphic artist too, and she was doing a landing page for us. And remember, I said to her, I saw the page, I go, oh, I hate that picture of me. And she's like, you're kidding, right? I love that picture of you two guys. And I'm like, oh, I hate it. And she was like, do you want me to change? No, she didn't. She actually just said, oh, like, she didn't offer to change it, right?
That's too bad that you don't like it.
Yeah. And so anyways, I let it go. And she's like, well, I'm surprised you don't like it because, the background and this and this and this. And then I went back to it the next day and I looked at it differently. Right. I looked at it from what she sees. Remember? And I called you, right? And I said, she's kind of right, because it does look good. It's just that we're looking for that, money shot.
We don't have those.
We
didn't have the glamour shots.
But she taught us a lot about, we teach we teach everyone, all our clients and our students, and around the world, we teach them a lot about branding and consistency, and she kind of nailed us last week, didn't she?
Well, it was interesting. So I brought black and white, so hence why I'm wearing white today. So typically, I'm in a black jacket. I used to wear a lot of yellow because that was my branding. I had yellow and black, so I would wear yellow and black with black inside, like yellow jacket, yellow inside, black jacket, black, like you were wearing black, all that kind of stuff. We're very on brand, and it matches Mastermind City, again, branding, all that. So you do have to think about that when it comes to doing your photo shoots and your branding shoots. You need to think of your brand overall. What do you want it to look like? How much, like, do you want to be wearing a leather jacket? Do you want to be wearing something frilly? Like, it does, because it's an image, and people read from that. So I brought up white and black. And then originally what we were going to do was we were going to have some photos of the two of us, both of us wearing black. And then we were going to have pictures of the two of us with us both wearing white.
Right.
But as soon as, so Faye, again, as we know, didn't have a plethora of clothes last week when we were looking for things like she thought she did. And that actually worked out to the best, because so Faye is wearing basically what she was wearing. So black, she was wearing, some black shirts, which she had. And then I put on the white and we took a photo, and all of a sudden Spencer goes, actually, and that's her word. She goes, I really like this. She goes, it looks really good. The contrast, she really liked how it looked in the camera. So in hindsight, again, sometimes you can't predict that. You kind of go, well, this is our intention. But that's why it's so interesting when she looks behind the lens and she kind of sees the whole thing together. And she can also see what it's going to look like on a graphic, what it's going to look like on a landing page. And that's the advantage of working with somebody who has the whole picture versus somebody who just does the photographs. They don't know how your landing page is going to look. They don't know what your website's going to look like. They don't know. They're just kind of doing what you're telling them to do.
Right.
So we had the advantage from that perspective. So I'm really excited to see what that contrast looks like as in the end. So yeah, I think it worked out really well. I think it was a learning from us to always have options, but trust, if there's nothing else, trust your photographer, because they see it differently than what you see.
Yeah. And like things, like I said, like she said, play music. She's not forceful, so she wouldn't insist. Mm-hmm. But I think instead of like poo-pooing her, we should have said, yeah, okay. Like, because it loosens. Like, I'm always playing music, and I didn't play that because I didn't feel good that day. I didn't even put it on. And so
that's the snowball effect, right?
Yeah.
You're like, forget it.
Yeah. And I just wanted it over with. And like you said, I had so much in the background. So I think you're right. Like, if you have somebody you trust and know, then, defer to them. Here's the thing, the very clear thing, if everyone's doing a photo shoot, we talked about branding. We're almost always in black and white. I mean, if you look, I have pictures from the past I wore a lot of white, but they were specific whites that I was, comfortable wearing and stuff. And so, but here's the thing. When people go to photo shoots, this is the mistake they make. If you hire somebody and they don't know you, first thing you do is you bring, 20 different outfits and they're all different colors, right?
Right.
Because you have a tendency, oh, I saw this picture and she wore this purple dress, and oh, I saw this picture and she wore this, orange outfit. You know what I mean? And so you bring all this stuff, and what you realize when you get your pictures back, it's all a mismatch, right? So nothing really works because there's too many colors. And if you look at anyone that has consistent branding on, their Instagram profiles or whatever, they have a very clear palette. And I don't mean, for me, I always wear black because I just like it. It's not because, you know what I mean? Like I can mix it up, but I just like it. It's because I've been doing it ever since, my husband got sick and I didn't have time to think. So for me, the easiest uniform in the world was just throw black on, right? And then you don't have to think about it. But so for us, consistency is fairly easy. But sometimes you look at people's websites and they're the brand might be like pastels or something, right? And then they have this like bright orange or bright yellow jacket on in the shoot because that's what they used for their photo shoot, and it doesn't look good. Right?
Well, exactly. That's why, again, it's not just a showing up. You need to think about it. Where are you using the photos? Same thing with, again, when we teach video, we've done our video mastery or video success formula. Have a plan. Don't just press record. Where is the video going? What's the purpose of the video?
Yeah.
What's the end result that you want to have from it? Same thing with photos. Where do you want it on? Do you have a landing page kind of already done? I need a photo that's like this and kind of has this look, because I know one person, same thing, photo shoot, all kinds of different tops, all kinds of different colors, red and blue and purple. Yeah. And you look at their landing page and it's very much of a visual disconnect.
Yeah.
Like there is a psychology of color. And I know that, when we talk about your logo and there's so much more to branding than just the particular shade of whatever, because you're probably the only one that's going to notice the particular shade, and people spend hours on Pantone colors and blah, blah, blah. But again, the look and feel, like you want to feel comfortable. And as soon as that, like you're going through and it's like blues and purples or something, like you said, pastels, something like that, and all of a sudden it's like, boom, they're in bright red.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you just kind of, your brain just kind of shuts down because the trust is going away. Yeah. It's just not, it's not what you're expecting. And you just kind of click away, versus if it's consistent with everything that you're doing. And again, they go to social media and your images are similar. Yeah. They go to your website and everything's similar. That consistency is so important. So I really appreciated, but again, black, white, very easy, because then you can add that splash of color and you can have the consistency on your site.
Yeah. And there's nothing, it's great if you like to wear bright colors and you like jewel tones or something, great, but just consistently use those same palettes, right? Yeah. Like just, and it's true. It's kind of like how you feel like just in everyday, if I put on something pastel or like nude shade or oatmeals or something like that, I don't feel good, right? And I want to, because I see them. I remember I have a dress that I absolutely love, and it's a very like a nude kind of shade. Never wore it. I saw it on a hanger and I loved it. I got remember in the I got a Jilly box. Do you remember Jilly boxes, guys? For those of you guys who follow Jillian Harris, she had a shacket in it, and it's an oatmeal color. And it very beautiful and very, good, really amazing quality. And I took it out, and the first thing I said was, I could never wear this because I wouldn't feel good in it. And so, of course, Spencer said I would.
But that comes through. So, but one of the things when we were doing the photo shoot last week, you had different things on or whatever, and then you went upstairs and you came down in what I would consider more of a fey look. And you're like, okay, I feel better. And that does. And I think those photos are probably going to turn out better because you feel better. You feel more comfortable in what you're wearing. Yeah. And you're good. And I know I've been complimented many times. Go ahead.
No, I think a lot of it too has to do with like, again, how you feel about how you like, how do you feel like you look good? Like,
Okay.
and I don't mean, modelish or anything. I mean, do you feel like you're on that day? Right. And so regardless of, no, I'm not talking about canceling or anything, but I was like, okay, why don't I feel good? Well, I don't feel good because I really haven't, COVID. I haven't really exercised a lot. I don't feel good about feeling like I look at my best. Right. And so I'm like, okay, so that's a signal to me. So I need to do something about it. Right. Because
Right.
if I don't feel good on a consistent basis, that does completely change everything, how you're performing on video, on podcasts, on anything. If you're on stage, if you're whatever, you need to feel good about yourself. So it all goes what you're wearing, how you feel, your colors, everything. Like if all of a sudden, you show up and you have a photographer that you've never met and said, I think you should wear blues, and you've never worn blues in your life. And you're like, okay, because you're deferring to them. Be careful, right?
Well, yes,
Defer
that's
to a
true. Very
professional
good
that
point.
you trust.
Yeah.
Defer to a professional you trust that knows you.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, they said you do blues and you do your entire photo shoot in blues and you hate every picture, that is a problem, because when you don't like what you see on your website, when you don't like what you see on your feeds, then it reflects in how you feel about your business and how you're portrayed. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a slippery slope. You have to go, okay, I have to know what I feel good in. I have to know what I like. Like it's the same as anything in branding. Like it's not only how you feel, but let's talk about, I don't like that font, right?
Yeah.
And your graphic artist might go, this is the perfect font. And you're like, yeah, no, this is not me. Right.
Well,
So
you need
you
to be
have to,
proud, right? You want to
yeah,
be proud of your photos. You want to be proud of your site. You want to go, yeah, like go here. Like this is awesome. But again, you're right. There is a fine line, right? There's one thing that you want to feel comfortable in and stuff like that. But then there's also another school of thought, to play devil's advocate, that says, you know what, sometimes being pushed outside your comfort zone that
absolutely.
that you didn't think of. Maybe you didn't think you looked good in blue and you did the photo shoot in blue. On the other hand, if you're
And it
open
was
to
great.
that and you feel comfortable, all of a sudden you might look at it and go, you know what? I really do look good in blue.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
there's
think I would recommend, if I was saying, if somebody, because you're going to know before your photo shoot, your photographer's going to say, bring this and this and this. And I would just take my phone and take some pictures of myself and go, does that look like me?
right.
Right? Do I look good in that color? And does that look like me? And if it does, then you're all set. Right? And if it
Yeah.
doesn't, you're going to just say, you know what? I already know that I'm not going to enjoy it. So, and
But
that's
there's
all there's.
also how many photo shoots have you done? Right? Because I feel like if this is sort of your first one, then you're probably going to lean more on the photographer and their recommendations
Right.
because you don't really know what you want. We've done a lot.
A lot.
We've done a lot of photo shoots. So we know what we feel good in. We know what we feel looks good in a photo. We know what we're good with using. We know how these photos are used and stuff like that. So I think there was a different, when you're more experienced with your own brand, and again, the consistency of working with a similar photographer, once you start using
Right.
your photos in your social, I wish I had had this, I wish I had done that, you can do that next
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
which is why it's important also to always keep your photos updated. So you do
Right.
need to do regular photo shoots. So shout out to all the photographers out there. I think it's really important to do that, not just do one. I mean, we kind of did a mini one like a year ago,
Yeah.
but both of us really weren't on. So we really didn't like those photos. I think we've seen like one or two, and it came through. In that particular
Right.
case, it came through because she's never used those photos.
Right. Well, that's
Very
why
rarely.
I'm a little bit, apprehensive on this one, because I'm like, oh, maybe I won't like any of them. You'll like them, but I
We'll
won't.
see. We'll see what happens. Like I said, for me, I've always had, something yellow on. I've been complimented many times. I know I'll wear yellow if I'm speaking and then my slides and I match. Everyone's like, I
Yeah.
can't believe you match your slides. And it's like, well, this is what I like wearing. It actually
Yeah.
wasn't purposeful. But now for me personally, this is the first time I've worn white in a photo shoot.
Right.
Because I actually don't love me in white. I feel like I'm already pale enough. I'm very white. I feel like it washes me out. But she really liked it. So she wanted to take photos
Yeah.
more
And
in the white.
she's usually, I mean, I will give her, as I said, the last one I wore all white, except for black shoes. but I wore all white, and they turned out really good. So
Hmm.
I mean, she usually knows, but I think it's, I loved the outfit I was wearing in white, and that was the difference. And I think, if you like what you're wearing, if you're like, oh, this is a great, you know what I mean? Like, I look good because I like what I'm wearing, then it comes across, right? So
Right.
I think it's, you well, there's a couple things to think about. One is you really need some professional photos. For those of you who are listening, it's not just about selfies and stuff. You really need somebody to take your picture,
Mhm.
because again, they see you differently, and it's good to have, a mix of those on for things you need, website and stuff. I mean, if
Exactly.
you're, a video blogger, or you're used to doing stories and reels every day, then that's a different story. You don't need a professional to do that. But if you want some, some headshots and stuff like that, you really need somebody who knows what they're doing. Obviously things are a lot different now, and you can take really great photos with your iPhone, and they look amazing, portrait mode, all that stuff. But your eye is different than a
Yeah.
photographer's.
Absolutely. I mean, you can put your camera on a tripod and go there and be like, hey, here's me, but it's different. It's a different eye.
Yeah,
It's a different everything. So,
yeah,
yeah, shout out to photographers. You're amazing. I've had different photographers. Spencer, to me, even though I do know her, um, I work with her like I don't. Like, how should I hold my hands? Do I have my
yeah,
shirt, open? Do I have my shirt closed? Like, do I have my hands here? What does that look like? And even though I might feel odd,
yeah,
she knows what it looks like in the photo. So
yeah,
that's where you do have to lean on your photographer from a post perspective. But
yeah,
yeah, we'll see what happens. So watch out for new photos.
yeah.
Well, hopefully, come on. We'll see how they turn out. And you know what? But the advantage, that we have versus other people is that again, the photos were taken in the studio, so we can easily redo them.
Well, I said, that's what I said to her. I go, you know what? When if I feel like, oh, this is a great day, let's do some shots, she'll just run over and do them.
Yeah.
So we're a little spoiled. I will say that we're a little spoiled,
Yeah,
because
we have to,
even,
yeah, admit that.
like we're working in the studio a couple weeks ago, and she was over and she just took a couple of shots because we needed a few shots that we didn't have, and she was like, oh, I'll just take them right now. We're like, cool.
Yeah, so
So
yeah, definitely we're definitely spoiled from that perspective, but that's what I like about her, the way she works and how we work with her and stuff like that.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah, all good.
All right, what else is going on in the world before we
Well,
wrap
it
up?
is, it's the beginning of February, and we talked about this yesterday on our posts. And this is our new year, so we start February. January is our month of muddling through getting all our plans done, and we really we focused in and got things organized and ready to go. So the photo shoot was part of it, right? Because we needed
Mhm.
more photos. And so now we're ready to go. We've launched. If you guys haven't looked at, go to see how you can work with us. We've got that page up. We've changed things. And I was like, okay, what do I want to do differently this year? And I think I said it in my post. I'm going to be a little more honest. And I think I'm really honest. I really do,
Mhm.
because I tell you guys pretty much everything. But you come to my Instagram, and you come to Hot Topics, and you see the pretty. I call it the
Yeah.
pretty. You see the pretty. And that's, you don't see the 4 hours of grinding and trying to rush around and doing that stuff. So I can't really, I don't know how I'm going to share it yet, but I want to be, I want everyone to understand our lives aren't, it's not all perfect. And even though it's easy for us to jump on a camera, that's easy for us to do Hot Topics and stuff. um, the hours it takes to get there or some of the stuff that we struggle with on a daily basis. I want people to understand that, I get it. It's not, no matter what you have. And I think what pushed it for me was when we were doing, I think we were doing a Q&A for our challenge. I think when somebody asked me a question about, I don't know, how do you keep going and all this stuff. And they had some issues with their family member being sick as well. And I, said what was happening, and you could feel them when they were talking and said, oh, it's good to feel like, you know, I'm not the only one, and I can get through it. And I kind of like push it off because I'm used to it. But I think it's important for us to say, it's not that easy, and we get stuck, and we flip on a dime when we want to change things. And even though we teach everything, sometimes we don't tell all the stuff in the background, right? Not because we don't want to.
No, but in reality, social media is like, we say it all the time. It's like a highlight reel.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it is important to showcase some of the struggles and, things aren't perfect. And, we like in my post, I said, we were raring to go January 3rd. We're there. We're planning. We're going through. We're doing a rewind. We're good to go. We've got our plans. Boom. I got COVID.
Yeah.
Right. So you had to do the Q&As on your own. We had to flip. We had to do different things. It gave us time to reflect. We came up with a new plan. We had to pivot again.
Yeah.
And again. And, but I'm so glad that happened.
Yeah.
Because it's, to me, the plan that we have, what we're offering, what we have structured, so much better than what we had before. And then on what I call New Year's Eve, which is actually Chinese New Year's Eve, the lunar calendar. So I think we're going to follow that calendar from going forward. But Faye was over on January 31st. She was over here because she was in town. And I call that New Year's Eve. And she had, I'm not going to share what it was, but she had this epiphany, for lack of a better word. And she's like, and she showed me, she's like, all this stuff that we had and blah, 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 and what we can do. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. So I just think, you know what? We have 12 months out of the year. January is our planning month. We're going to go with a lunar calendar, not the.
Well, I think it's, I said February 1st is new January because it's, I think there's so much pressure in January, and we've talked about this over and over, but there's so much pressure on getting things done and you're not really ready. And so like, just wipe it clean. So again, for those of you who, missed your New Year's resolutions and you already screwed up and stuff, it's okay. Start now, start anytime. Right. So for me, what I was very focused on is making things easier this year. And that's when we discussed, what I kind of figured out the other night, it was making things easier again. I mean, even right now, like the last month, even with COVID and everything else that happened, the month was easier, right? The month was easier because we did not put so much pressure on us to do all these things because we were doing a lot. And so even though we're doing less, we're doing more focused on what people need, right? And allowing us time to do some stuff that we like to do, right? Because, there was things that we wanted to accomplish and get organized and do, and we didn't have time to do it because we were so busy doing all these other things. And so it's kind of nice to be able to say, okay, this is my new year. I'm going to start doing things a little differently. I mean, we have a whole plan to show you guys what we're doing at the farm. And we want to start that in the spring. And we wouldn't have been able to do it if we hadn't changed our plans.
Exactly. And the most important thing is we're not doing it in the winter.
No.
Spring. Because we can't wait to show you the fern forest.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of things. And I think, we go back to, again, feeling good, putting all that stuff in your business and stuff. And, you guys know I owned a yoga studio as a meditation teacher. I want to bring that stuff back into what we're doing here in the business realm because it's important. Although I never left it behind, I left behind teaching it to other people. I mean, most people don't know that Stacy taught Reiki, right?
Right. So you know what? We're actually going to put a pin in that one because I want to have a bigger conversation. So maybe we'll do that next week as a teaser. Come back next week. I feel like there's lots of stuff in our background that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah, it's true.
Like that's just too,
little tiny things. Yeah.
Little tiny things, but there's more. So we want to use some of the stuff that we have in our background going forward. So let's talk more about that next week.
Okay.
That is a teaser. See, like shows leave you on a cliffhanger. We're going to leave you on a cliffhanger.
Sounds good.
All right. We will see you next week.
Bye.